Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call a meeting to order, and we will begin with our land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of Caldwell First Nation, of the Three Fires Confederacy, and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island, and its surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. Okay, if we can get a motion to adopt our April 14th, 2025 Police Service Board public agenda. Marie and Anita, all in favor? And that carries. Any disclosures of community interest? There being none. If we can also, while we're at it, adopt the minutes of the LaSalle Police Service Board Committee meeting and public meetings held March 17th, 2025. Moved by Dan and support by Morris. All in favor? And that carries as well. We'll move into our presentations and delegations, and I'm going to now turn it over to the chief.
Thank you. On March the 1st, 2025, Constable Legaspi was dispatched. Could you come up with me? Thank you. Constable Legaspi was dispatched to a call to assist paramedics with an elderly male who was confused and lost. Paramedics advised the man had possible signs of dementia. When Constable Legaspi spoke with the man, he was unable to provide his name, address, or date of birth. The man spoke Arabic with some comprehension of English. Dispatch made some queries in our records management software and found a possible contact, Mr. Mohammed Al-Sablani. Constable Legaspi contacted him and learned that Mr. Al-Sablani did not have a family member missing or know of a person matching the description of the man. Despite that, he offered to assist. He drove to the officer's location, provided the man some food, and translated for the officer. The man was properly identified and returned safely to his family in Windsor. This may seem like a small gesture, but it's kindness like this that makes LaSalle special and a true community. In conversing with Staff Sergeant Mike Agustinus, he explained it best, and I'll quote, "It is the sum of these small acts which add up to make LaSalle a wonderful place to live." Mr. Sablani is an example of many in our community. It is important to celebrate the type of community we are, end quote. I agree with this statement and am pleased to recognize him for his kindness and present him with a Chief of Police Citizen Award. Could you please come up to the front? That's for you. And there's the Citizen Chief's Challenge coin. Thank you very much. I'll give you the opportunity to say anything if you'd like, but...
Sure, yes. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Well, I do believe that a good community starts at home. And that's why at my house, when I met my beautiful wife, she decided one day to have a little box that we put change in it to help the needy people. And that went a long, long way with our family. For example, one day, my son's friend in Alberta called him and told him that his sister is stranded in Toronto airport. At the drop of a hat, my son started driving. He went to Toronto, brought her back home safely without any compensation expected. For that, I'm very proud of my family that have a sense of community and of helping the community they're in. I have another son as well in medical school, and he, at a younger age, would stay in class, not go outside and play in court, around 7, 8 years old, to stay with his classmate that kid has autism, and he doesn't go play with anybody outside. So my son would stay with him to just keep his company. As simple as that little act of kindness that I'm very proud of my kids. Not to take too long of your time, my son, to be doctor, He said it best. If you feel pain, that means you're alive. If you feel other people's pain, that means you're a human. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
We'd like to take a photo with you, if that's okay.
Of course, yes.
You go to the front. I'm gonna try to speak better this time.
Before we move on, I just wanted to say a few words, and Mr. Asabani, what you said was really reflective of what I believe of the town of LaSalle, which is community is everything. And we have that day once a year where it's the random act of kindness, and everyone does something that makes them feel better that day. But it's days like this that I think are even more special because you didn't need a reason, you just felt it was the right thing to do. And so as much as I know you say you're proud of your kids, I'm sure today they're very proud of you, and we want to thank you very much on behalf of the town of LaSalle. And I will turn it back over to Chief.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to award 3 Chiefs commendations tonight. So as the board will recall, in the fall, we introduced an honor and awards procedure within our police service to recognize the great work that our people do. So the first, I'm going to speak to a fraud investigation. In January of 2024, the LaSalle Police Service responded to a call of fraud. The complainant was an elderly LaSalle resident. Through a series of transactions, the victim was defrauded of $528,000 American dollars and 95,000 Canadian dollars via wire transfers in cash. Constable J.D. Brandhawa was assigned to investigate. He conducted interviews and wrote multiple production orders for banking and phone records. Through the investigation, Constable Brandhawa linked 3 other LaSalle occurrences. While he was still investigating, 11 police services in Ontario and Quebec were involved in a joint forces operation investigating suspects in grandparent scams in both provinces. They connected Constable Randhawa's investigation, and based on the information contained in his reports, they linked our fraud occurrences to their targets. 2 suspects living in Quebec were charged with numerous criminal offenses in relation to this investigation and cases from the broader interprovincial investigation. Given that the LaSalle victim lost the largest amount of money of any of the victims in the joint forces operation, the Crown attorneys transferred the LaSalle case to Ottawa to prosecute the suspects and seek penitentiary time. The matter is still before the courts. In recognition of Constable Randhawa's tenacious effort in pursuing justice for a LaSalle victim, I'm pleased to provide him with a Chief of Police commendation.
I'd just like to say a few things. First of all, I'm very fortunate to be working and living in the town of LaSalle. We do have that community, and we do build relationships. For that, I'm very fortunate for. Thank you, Chief, for the recognition today. Additionally, I would like to recognize all of our patrol members because as I was seconded to CID for this role, They had to give valuable time, work extra hard to work the road and make sure all of the calls were taken care of. Lastly, I would like to thank my family, Selena and Sophia. Thank you guys for understanding that our work demands these kind of needs and times. Thank you, everyone.
We'll do pictures after, in just a minute. We'll do pictures once I do the next one. Yeah, you're good with that? Yeah. On Thursday, January the 23rd, 2025, the LaSalle Police Service hosted its first ever polar plunge to raise money for Special Olympics Ontario. Polar plunges for this cause have been taking place across Ontario for about 8 years, and the LaSalle Police Service has previously joined plunges hosted by the Windsor Police. Shortly after my arrival at LaSalle Police Service, dispatcher Lisa Hominick and I had a conversation about hosting our own plunge. She gladly agreed and began working with dispatcher Teresa Perry. We set a $10,000 goal, not knowing how much the event would be supported. We believed that achieving the goal would be a significant success for a first-year event. With only a few months to plan, Lisa and Teresa were committed to the task. Although I was routinely updated with her progress, we occasionally brainstormed, Lisa and Teresa did the work. I am pleased to report that our first polar plunge had more than 160 plungers and raised $52,743. After the event, I received an email from Cody Jasma, the president and CEO of Special Olympics Ontario, who thanked us for our efforts and specifically commented that $50,000+ raised in year one is unfathomable. After the event, many people in the LaSalle community made this achievement possible, but it had not been for the outstanding commitment and perseverance of Lisa and Teresa, our first polar plunge would not have been such an amazing success. In recognition of their outstanding effort, I'm pleased to provide them each with a Chief of Police commendation. Could you both come up, please? One's for you. Whoops. And that one's for you.
Thank you.
Feel free to.
Perfect, thank you. We merged the speech together, so it won't be too long.
Yeah, it's really
Yes.
short and sweet.
Yes.
Good evening. We are incredibly honored to be recognized for helping plan the Polar Plunge this year. It was a rewarding experience, and it meant even more because of all the incredible people that came together in the end to make it such a success. The teamwork, especially the days leading to and the day of, was truly inspirational. The amount of people who came, who made this happen was nothing short of incredible. My name is Lisa Hominick. I've been a 911 dispatcher for LaSalle for the past 8 years. I've always had a huge passion for helping and being involved. That same spirit is what brought me to the Special Olympics. I participated the last several years jumping at the Windsor Plunge, as well as many torch runs, and more recently, I've taken on a new role of zone coordinator for the LETR Special Olympics for our area, something I'm extremely proud of. 4 years ago, I had my son, who was born with Down syndrome, and it motivated me even more to make sure I can spread inclusion for the athletes. It brings me so much joy.
My name is Teresa Perry, and I've proudly served as #1 communicator with the LaSalle Police Service for the past 15 years. From the outset of my career, I have been deeply committed to community engagement and take great pride in representing our service, both professionally and personally. I have 2 boys, and I want them to know what inclusivity means by teaching them firsthand. For the past several years, I've had the privilege of participating in the Polar Plunge and contributing to the Law Enforcement Torch Run, the LETR community. In 2022, I was honored to receive the Rising Flame Award in recognition of my dedication and fundraising efforts in support of the Special Olympics Ontario. In 2023, I was also fortunate to attend the International LTR Conference in Chicago. This was an unforgettable experience, and it further deepened my understanding and the appreciation of the global Special Olympics and LETR movement and strengthened my commitment to its mission. Witnessing the direct impact of these events, the joy, the pride, and the sense of belonging they belong to the athletes, it was profoundly moving and reinforcing the importance of this work. This year, something special happened, thanks to our Chief Pierce, who has always been an unwavering support of the Special Olympics. We were approached with an idea: why not bring the Polar Plunge to LaSalle? The answer was an easy yes for us. We set out with a goal of 10,000, and thanks to the amazing dedication from our community, we didn't just hit that, we crushed it. We raised nearly $55,000. That success wasn't ours. It belongs to every single person who jumped into the freezing water, every volunteer who gave their time, every athlete who continues to inspire us all. You are the heart of this effort.
Thank you to everyone for believing in this and pushing us to dream bigger. We can't wait to start planning for next year's event.
Thank you.
say we'll have everyone come up and do pictures, and then we can have family do pictures as well. Is that okay?
Families, do you want pictures?
When you're Italian, everybody shows up. Just a couple. You say hi to Chief.
Hello, how are you?
Okay, go with
My name's Mike. Oh, I like that. How are you?
Come on.
You can, no?
Just give it to us. Do you want big one? Or do you want big one? Yeah, Alina can grab your phone and she'll take a picture. I'm sorry, everybody came.
Don't apologize.
Oh.
Can you slide that way? Yeah, we can put some people on that side too. We'll try to center us.
Oh, thank you.
Is that good? I saw yesterday, Facebook.
So I just want to start off, Constable Rondeau, you came up here to receive recognition for something you did, and you took the time to thank your coworkers, and I think that's pretty amazing. And it just goes to show you what a great team we have working for the town of LaSalle, supporting our residents and keeping everyone safe. So thank you for what you did, but also for recognizing your team. And for the other two individuals, wow. I remember when Chief told me your original goal, and then as we were working through, and those numbers just kept going higher and higher, and then the day of, the energy at the event center, I can't even explain it. It was wonderful to have something like that in our own municipality, but to be able to blow away that number that first year, you put in a lot of hard work, and we can't thank you enough for that, because that represents the town of LaSalle, and so thank you both for what you did. And congratulations to everyone, and thank you for everyone for coming tonight and supporting these individuals that we're recognizing. It really does mean a lot. You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. If you want to go, you can. There are a few things on the agenda, so if you want to leave, feel free. Now is your chance to run. Okay, thank you. Our lease was over, and okay, so we're going to move on with our reports. Item 1 is our new LaSalle Police Service Board policies. Everyone's had a chance to review them. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments on them. None. So the recommendation is that the memorandum and attachments from the board secretary dated April 2nd, 2025 regarding LaSalle Police Services Board policies, Community Safety and Policing Act 2019, CSPA, be received, and that the board adopt the draft policies effective April 14th, 2025 as appended to this report, and that the board chair in consultation with the chief be authorized to make any supplementary administrative amendments to the board policies that may be required following any additional clarification of the CSPA and its regulations that may be received by the Ministry of the Solicitor General. Moved by Marie and Anita, all in favor? And that carries. So we have our consent agenda. There's items 1 through 6. Are there any items anyone would like to pull out and speak to directly at this time? Go ahead.
Just double checking to make sure it's in this list, but the statistics from last year to this year, I know in prior years the comparison wasn't possible because there were 2 different systems. Has that shifted, or is it are they the same system?
No, as of now, we can do the year to year, so I can, all the stats you get currently show from same system. So if we want to do a complete, like all the stats for the year, it would be easier to know exactly which ones, because it's quite a deep search. But we can now, for about the past 3 years, we can get the system to system, which won't change.
The one item in particular was the calls for services. They almost like went up 50%. And I just wondered if you had any reason for that or any comment on it.
Yeah, so really quick, in the old system was the Interpol system, for short form CAD system, and which were deemed CAD calls. The old system, anything that could possibly create a report for it, depending on what happened, it generated an occurrence number as a CAD call. That could be anything from even a foot patrol to, I'm just trying to give different examples that might not be that serious. Property checks were some of them. And so what happened is everything the officers did were tracked as a CAD call, which made the calls for service look drastically higher than they were. In the Versa system, they only track which end up calls that are actual calls for service. We have had a couple added to track our proactive approach to certain things, such as property checks, foot patrols. So those will reflect this year. However, that was the big difference, was the way the 2 systems tracked any officer activity.
If I can add, one of the, if I'm not mistaken, one of the big increases you're seeing is the proactivity of officers going up. So it's creating occurrences that we perhaps didn't create in the past. And not that the work wasn't being done, but that we're actually starting to capture it better, if that answers your question.
Yeah, that does answer it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other items you wanted to discuss? I would like maybe a little bit more information on item 3, the Fox radar counter purchase, and just Maybe explain how you feel it's going with the new system. I know there's a little bit of data supply, but what we can use this information for going forward.
Thank you. This is a Fox radar counter offered by, I believe it's Northline, if memory serves me. It is for lack of a better term, a Pelican briefcase that we can affix to a hydro pole. And so it's inconspicuous to the average driver. It's about the size of this, but thicker. And it gets to affix to a hydro pole. And so we can measure the speed of any moving motor vehicle in two directions and in two lanes for the duration that is deployed there. We've opted to use it, deploy it Wednesday to Wednesday, and that will give us data on each day of the week for a 1 week cycle, 24 hours a day. If we were to do a shorter duration, then we wouldn't necessarily, we'd miss a day and not fully understand the data. And so the data provided will show us a few different things. We can summarize the sheet, so we can set the tolerance after the fact, after the data has been collected, and we can filter through a violation rate based on kilometers per hour. So afterwards, we can filter and say, we want to see only the vehicles traveling 15 kilometers over the posted speed limit, or we only want to see vehicles traveling 25 kilometers over the posted limit. Again, that's done after the fact, not before. So it captures everything, and then we filter the data afterwards. And then it also provides us information as to when the best time to enforce. So it will show us a period of time where we have the highest traffic volume, but also the highest rate of offenses. And so it benefits us in two ways. One, when citizens have concerns, instead of deploying an officer who will change the behavior of drivers momentarily while they're there. So if they're there for an hour, if drivers see them, they'll change their behavior for that time period, but then go back to their regular driving behavior when the officer's not there. So the officer really isn't getting a full sense of what the issue is, because just by virtue of them being there, they're changing driving patterns. So we can deploy this for well, more than a week if we wanted to, but we're going to use a week to get a true sense of what the issue is for that road. So instead of deploying an officer multiple times and using that resource of the officer, we can put this box up, leave it there for a week, and then get an understanding of what the issue is. This is being used in Chatham-Kent, and when I was in Chatham-Kent, we had huge success because we had citizens that were concerned about speeding on their street. We deployed it for a week and found out that there was a 1%, for example, violation rate. So that's not a big violation rate, but on another road we deployed it, there was a 49% violation rate, and that's at 15 kilometers over the speed limit. So it really gives us evidence-based data on where the best place to enforce and the best times to enforce, so it will make us more efficient, but also attack the problem when we need to attack the problem. That, in short, is what the Fox radar counter does. So it's not an enforcement tool, it is a data tool that lends to us being able to produce more efficient enforcement.
Thank you very much. I found the data to be interesting. I think it was just when I was going to the report at the end, the little chart with the graph, and it's saying that it's only 5% were speeding. I guess my only concern is, are we going to get residents saying, yes, but they are speeding, because anything over 50 is technically speeding. And I know we have, or under 40 in this circumstance. I know we're saying a 15-kilometer buffer is what we're saying is kind of allowed. Is that correct?
No, I wouldn't characterize it that way. We can filter the data. We could look for people going 5 kilometers over the speed limit after the fact. I was just giving you as an example that we can filter the data at 17 kilometers over, 50 kilometers over, however we choose to filter the data. So if we wanted to say, 5 kilometers over is the threshold, to your point, Mayor, the speeding is an absolute liability offense. So if you're going 1 kilometer over the speed limit, you're breaking the law. But in reality, police officers in Ontario don't stop people for doing 1 kilometer over. And I would argue that they probably, and unless it's a 40 zone, they probably don't stop people going 5, 6, 7 kilometers over. I can tell you that I never have. That doesn't make it okay, but we have to, we would stop almost every driver everywhere. Mm-hmm. And is it appropriate to stop a driver doing 3 kilometers over the speed limit? I would argue it's not, even though speeding is an absolute liability offense. So I wouldn't characterize it that there's a buffer that we're permitting, but we're trying to attack the most egregious driving offenses.
Yeah, I think just, we hear speeding is probably the biggest complaint we get in the town. And so I know if I had a resident look at this who lived on that section of Normandy, they'd be like, yes, but they're going 50, that's speeding. And we're sitting here saying, it is, but only 5% of the total amount of people were actually going, now this is where I need clarification, going over 40 or going over 55?
So if we're filtering it at 15 kilometers, it would only show the drivers that are going 55 kilometers and higher in that example. Now, this was provided as an example just
Yeah.
to show you what we're able to achieve by filtering data.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's why I kind of want to know going forward, how's the best way to use it to answer those concerns of the residents? And I know that's not really the point of this. It's for data, for us to understand how to have your people go onto the road and where they should go and stuff. But like I said, it's just, that's probably the biggest complaint we get in the town. Every week it's about speeding. And so I just wondered how we were kind of planning on using it. I love data. I think it really helps us going forward as far as being able to decide, you know, where to put officers, but also how many additional people we need in that unit for traffic. So thank you very much for the explanation. I appreciate it. Any questions on anything else? So if we can get a, the other item that I forgot I did want to look at was item 2. And so I don't want to simply receive that report. I'm hoping that we can support it as well. So I don't know if you had a chance to, yes, you agree? Yes, okay. So we will receive everything else, but we will also support item 2. And that's moved by Dan and support by Marie. All in favor? That carries. Any question statements by board members? There being none, the schedule of meetings and upcoming events are listed below. Thank you for joining us this evening. Meeting adjourned.